Good morning, everyone. This is Brett. We'll go ahead and call the June 3rd MPO Tech meeting to order. Looking for approval of the agenda.
So move, Miller Ankeny.
Second, Neighbor, Des Moines.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Anyone wishing to vote against approval of the agenda? All right, the agenda is approved. Next up is looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the May 6, 2021 meeting.
Moved, Neighbor.
Second, Hickman.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the May meeting minutes? Anyone opposed to the motion? All right, that motion carries. The meeting minutes are approved. Next up is a presentation for Iowa DOT Regional Project Update.
Thank you. This is Andy. I think I'm unmuted. I'm going to start sharing some video, I think, of myself, but I started sharing the screen. Hope you guys can see that.
We can, Andy.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this time of the year, we have our draft program out and a few new projects are in there. So come out to you guys and talk a little bit about what we have going on and what we're going to have going on in the future. Okay, let's see if I can get this to advance for me. All right, so I'm District 1. I think I've showed you guys this slide before, but important here is Polk County. We have 4 shops in that area, a resident construction office, and our operations managers down there in the Grimes office too. So we have a lot of workers down there, and we do a lot of maintenance in that area. So we've had some staff changes here. Tony Gustafson, the previous assistant district engineer, is now the district engineer, has been for, well, all of pretty much good part of the COVID year. So we then promoted Allison Smythe, who was a staff engineer, up to that position, and replaced our construction engineer with Scott Nixon. He was from the southwest part of the state, worked for the DOT down there, and came up as a construction engineer. And we promoted Ben Hucker to a transportation systems management operations engineer, better known as TSMO. It's our first ever position in the state to have, or first ever time we've had that position in the state. And as we get more interested in events and managing the system, you know, without adding pavement, it's going to be more important. So he's helping out with all kinds of things, you know, maintenance activities, you know, trying to make sure they're safe, and construction activities, you know, making sure that the traveling public is safe, and, you know, and getting good direction out there from our work zones. So I'd like to talk about our ongoing projects. A couple of these are almost finished up, and you guys have probably been driving them for some time. But here is the urban loop area. And as promised, we got this project done and opened end of last year. I think we're still out there finishing up a few things, but it was over $100 million project, or about $90 million project when you include the 100th Street interchange as well. So we've, I think, greatly improved the flow out there. I haven't heard many negative comments about this at all. So I think it's working pretty good, or otherwise I think usually I'm the one that those comments filter to help answer. So we're continuing work on the Des Moines River Bridge. This was really facilitated the expansion of this bridge due to needing to repair it, and couldn't really get it repaired safely with keeping 3 lanes of traffic open. So ended up widening it a little bit to allow that to happen. So we set for the future on this as well, but that should wrap up, I believe, the end of this year. This project, First Street, I-35 in Ankeny, finished this up last year. A little bit of an older picture here, but it's working pretty well out there. The only negative comment that we continue to get about this is that folks sitting at a red light don't necessarily feel, comfortable or think they can turn on a red light from a one-way to a one-way. So we've been trying to do a few social media posts and get some information out, letting people know that they can, because we don't think static signs there, gonna help a whole lot. But that's part of this improvement of flow, is that kind of can keep moving at all times through there. So if you're at a red light, waiting to turn onto a one-way, you feel free to make that movement and keep traffic going. And as part of this, so I back up again, but we're finishing that project up with this resurfacing here. So that will be resurfacing from south of Corporate Woods all the way to the new pavement at First Street. And hopefully this will help a little bit. We have some sound issues out in that area where we've made it a little wider and removed all of the landscaping out there. So going through with the new pavement and a very substantial landscaping project this year out there to help, alleviate some of those concerns. But, the environmental document up front did review noise and problems. So, I feel confident that we, made the right choice. We just got to make sure that we have, the citizens out there taken care of, because they're pretty close to the interstate in that area. This is a project just to the west of that, a few miles, that we are increasing capacity on US 69 from south city limits of Ankeny or thereabouts down to Interstate 80, 3580. We had this project in the program 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. I got pulled, and took us that long to get it back in the program. But the concept here is follow that 5-lane cross section on the north end and provide 2 through lanes and turn lanes with quite a bit of raised median in there to help with the access and control that access across there. So that's a good project. It's going on now. It's going to be going on next year. So we'll keep 2 lanes of traffic open in each direction, but there'll be some delay out there as that project continues to go. We have a resurfacing project on Douglas, US 6, Iowa 28, Merle Hay Road this year. And that section of on Douglas is going to be a road diet, and the city's involved with that. We've been, hoping these work real well. Some areas they do, and I think it's kind of a pilot in this area, and we'll see how it goes. Those are the projects that are ongoing, that were in the last year's program. I'll talk about the future projects now. Continuing on the Northeast Mix Master, we have projects programmed there in 23 for grading and east to north flyover bridge, and then 2017 paving, lighting, signs. So this project will take care of 2 problem movements on this interchange, which one is the eastbound to southbound 235 ramp. It's a real short ramp, and then the Minneapolis ramp, which is a left off maneuver that pretty old in design and definitely needs to be updated. So this is the first phase of this, kind of tackling the worst movements first. And we've also had 2 phases prior to the phase that will start in 23, which were Delaware Avenue and Northeast 54th bridges that go over, because the cross section needed to be a lot bigger on those the cross section of the new interstate ramps are going to be a lot wider, so the bridges need to be made larger. And then here's just a quick shot of the full build. We don't have any funding prior or beyond what I just talked about, but we have a design for the whole mix master, basically to remove all the loop ramps or all the ramps and create flyovers except the northbound 235 to 3580 westbound. That movement as pretty minimal, and we thought that was the only one the loop ramp would stay. Here's a project that popped up out of our integrated corridor management project that has been ongoing for a couple years, but reoccurring bottleneck in this area was really fleshed out to the fact that this exit ramp from I-80 to southbound 65 bypass needed to be extended. So we put a project in for 2022 to pave about another 1,000 feet of that entrance ramp. And as you can see, the photo on the bottom showing a big backup there. This next project is helping more with this and going to add capacity in between the mix master and the bypass to help with that reoccurring congestion, because you know, the extension of that ramp isn't, it's just going to help, you know, kind of carry us over till we can get more capacity out here. So we have $30 million programmed in 25 and 26 to meet in with this, and those will meet in with the Northeast Mix Master, and we're coordinating those projects. We have I-35 6 laning that we have fully programmed now from 36th Street in Ankeny up just north of Iowa 210. And we have approximately $140 million programmed for that starting in 23 through 26. That's going to be a great improvement, and we're going to continue to, you know, do our best to get that improvement north of there as well programmed. But we have a lot of needs across the state, so we haven't quite made the list yet. Another project here that was just identified in this year's draft program was ramp metering, another project that popped up out of the integrated corridor management project / study. So we have 3.5 million programmed to start ramp metering. I'm sure this is going to be a bigger project, and I think our thought was this was going to be some kind of seed money and maybe go for a larger grant application to do some of this work. It really showed that in the integrated corridor management analysis that ramp metering would definitely help, you know, keep the constant speeds on 235 as you slow folks down coming into it, especially in certain areas. So looking forward to that. You know, we've been working through this process with the locals, you know, really concerned to make sure that this doesn't affect local roads, and, you know, that anything that might be needed to add, you know, to help with any backups or things that might happen or occur from this to be included in the project. So we'll be working heavily with this through this process. Then we have DOT has a study right now working in conjunction with the city, studying US 69 from I-80 down to Polk County line to the south. And we have a couple projects. You know, we have been studying this for a while. Took a little delay because our consultant budget was bad. So this consultant got put on hiatus for a year, but we're back on. We're supposed to have our first in-person public meeting on this project in September. So more to come there, but we have a project that is programmed at Maury Street and new river crossing, or excuse me, a replacement of the river crossing over Des Moines River at 22.7 million in 26. So our thought is to, you know, hopefully incorporate those two projects together with the designs for the Maury Street / ML King connection in this project. So we kind of have some money in there holding our place, but you know, we know there needs to be a lot of work here. And there were 4 concepts at Maury Street. A couple of them here I have shown, you know, different connections to ML King and you know, not necessarily at Maury Street. I think one of them actually did connect with Maury, but definitely improvements, turn lanes and signal improvements at Maury and things of that nature as well. So more to come on this, but we have some money in there to work with the city and come up with the idea of what we want to build there. Iowa 28 over the Raccoon River, 63rd Street, we are replacing the southbound bridge, and that will include trail accommodation along there. So that'll be nice. Did work to make sure we had that, kind of in the efforts of complete streets, and we're not going to be back out here in a while. So kind of worked and pushed to make sure we made that happen. That's a 2022 project at about $7 million. We just received, I believe, the last in 2026 last program dollars we think we'll be needing for the US 6 Hickman Road interchange at 3580. IJR has been completed and approved by Federal Highway Administration. Just need to get out with the final public meeting and work through project development on this. We think the divergent diamond has been working great, and this will really help speed up this intersection. You guys, I'm sure everyone's driven through there and know that at certain times you probably don't want to be out there. Move up a little north of that area on 141 at 121st Street. Had a project to close off 121st Street to the north, make some turn lane improvements there at that intersection. Now it'll be a three-legged intersection, and then create a new roadway to the north off of 415 to really, we've had some close calls out there and a few fatalities. I don't think we've had any in the last 5 years. I think they were a little bit beyond that, but we've put a couple of warning systems out there, and those seem to be working, but we think we need a long-term solution as this area continues to grow and traffic, doesn't slow down in these areas. Another bottleneck removal here, which will tie into the next project that I talk about, but the Omaha Ramp from 35 southbound over to 80 westbound coincides with the 235 traffic in a bad way. And what happens there, we've learned in the ICM, is that a lot of, majority of the traffic from 235 westbound wants to get to Jordan Creek Parkway. So what we're going to do is add auxiliary lanes in there to help that merge happen. And I'll talk a little more about that on my last slide, which is the Southwest Mix Master, but we're trying to accommodate some of that in the future design of any improvements to the interchange or the Mix Master interchange there as well. This project here is a capacity improvement from Jordan Creek Parkway out to Grand Prairie Parkway. And, that will tie in, the auxiliary lane will tie in with this project like I had talked about. So having that westbound auxiliary lane from the Omaha Ramp and additional lane all the way out to Grand Prairie Parkway in this area. This will be a 3-year project, 23, 24, and 25. Kind of build in place as much as we can without buying right away. And then this is our unfunded project here that I added in at the end. We've just finished up a location study on this, went through numerous alternatives and have sent that out to the locals for their review and comment, and trying to work forward. We knew we needed to get to a point with this systems interchange that like we were on the north side of town. So here we're starting that process, really we wanted to create something that was going to be phased and where you didn't have to rebuild the whole interchange to get rid of the worst movements. So as you can kind of see here, can you guys see my cursor or no? I don't know if anyone can see that.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. So here's that movement I was talking about where we're actually looking to switch 235 and the Omaha Ramp, so that merge problem is vastly diminished or gone. So just one idea, and there's a few alternatives in there in the report, and we had a second consultant on board to review the work and critique it. So we feel we, kind of a value engineering, if you will. But so we're pretty excited about this. Obviously, we don't have any funding for it, but we'll be working towards that in the future. That's all projects that I have talked about. We have a few smaller ones in there, but I didn't bring in the small, culvert replacements or, some grading work or things like that. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, or if not, we can move on with the agenda.
All right, thanks, Andy. Any questions for Andy?